Hi, what you're about to watch on this video is a portion of a webinar that I did in my private Amazon Facebook group. We've got over 2,000 sellers that are in this Facebook group, and you can find out more about my course and book and all the other stuff that I do at my website at askjimmysmith.com. I just wanted to thank you for checking out the video and let you know that this is a portion of a much longer webinar that I've done in the group. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave a comment below or reach out to me at askjimmysmith.com. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a great day. Cons or hurdles to this business and how to overcome them. This was a good question because I've never addressed it specifically. It's very broad, so I just went with some of the things that I could think of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's more that people could throw out and say that this is a con or a hurdle to the business, but these are the main ones that I could think of. So IP and performance issues, which we just addressed, follow those prior tips. If you get any performance notifications, use the performance templates in the group if issues arise. They address trademarks, intellectual property, which I guess is trademarks, used, sold as new, expired dates, and I believe I've got one more in there and I can't think of it. Oh, suspected intellectual property violations. We've got pretty much every performance notification covered in that document, and if there's ever one that comes up, I would add it to it if I had to. So, or if something else new came or I forgot one. The next one would be competition and price tanking. So a lot of people say that this is a con and a hurdle. And so yes, this is kind of a con that your price can drop and that there's competition, but that's the case with literally any business out there. There's competition. I'm looking at 10 restaurants out there right now. So there's a ton of different things that in terms of competition that you're gonna have to deal with in any business. On eBay, you've got people that list the exact same listing as you. On Walmart.com, you've got people that are listing the exact same listing as you and deal with price tanking. All of the platforms have the same issue in different ways. The good thing with Amazon is you've got a bunch of software and resources like Keepa that can help you avoid these issues with competition, price tanking, buying bad products. So if you want to test small, check Keepa first for as long as possible with the history. So if you can go, I would for sure do a year if that's available. If you can, I would look at all just to kind of get a general glimpse, but the year is what I care about the most just because it's long enough that I can get a good guideline and a good guess, but not too long that it's just gonna be inaccurate 5 years later. So check Keepa first for as long as you can on the history so that you just know the trends. You know, it's Q4 coming up. So let's say you're looking at a Keepa chart and last Q4, the product dropped price in half or the product went up by 2 times the price. You know, you can use that information and that data to make the best decision, avoid competition increases and price tanking. Also for Q4, right? A lot of Q4 products are coming out, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas or Halloween stuff. And so if you look at a product and you're like, oh, sweet, there's 4 sellers on it. It's been 4 sellers for the last 9 months. I'm going to get this. Well, what happened the 3 months before that, which was Q4 2019? Q4 2019, there were 40 sellers on it and the price tanked by a ton. So you want to look at these products with Keepa to avoid this issue. Again, check that unit section. It's going to help a ton. Additionally, use a repricer if you've got the money. If you're over 100 SKUs and you're making this a serious business, use a repricer so that you don't check your prices a week later and notice that the price dropped by $5. You want something that is constantly repricing so that you can keep up with the competition, you can keep up with the pricing trends, and that you can make sure that there's a stop loss, right? So you put your minimum in that repricer so you're not going to lose a ton right away. It gives you a time to look at all of those prices that went to your minimum and how can you, like, what should you do with those individual products, but you still want to keep up with the pricing trends while it's in your, between your minimum and maximum. So use a repricer. I've got a whole webinar on repricers I suggest, as well as our specific settings that we use in our repricer with a document. It's actually bit.ly/repricer settings if you want to see the document. But the whole webinar where I talk about the theory behind it and why we do that, as well as what repricers I recommend, is in the unit section. So go check that out as well. The next one, and I've heard this more and more, obviously, is Amazon's changed things, which is the cash flow piece. And that's the most difficult piece because everybody's situation is different. So here are my 2 tips to make sure that if you're low on cash flow, what you can do. So if you're starting with less money, you want to focus on higher ROI. So I'm talking 70% return on investment or higher. So if you're putting out $10 on a product, you want to make 7 to test. And profit, you want to focus on higher profit items. Maybe have a minimum profit of $4 or $5, because obviously if you're going down to a minimum of $2 and the price drops $1.50, and now you're not making that much money, that can be problematic. So focus on higher ROI and higher profit items so that you can grow your money quicker. The point of this is obviously the more you can make, even if it takes you longer to find these products, the more your cash reserves can build, so that then you can kind of snowball the rest of that moving forward. You can continue to invest that money. For instance, let's say that you average 100% ROI, which in Brittany and my business, we still average 70%, spending $40,000 a month. So we're still averaging a high ROI. So if you average 100% as a new seller and you're putting out $500, well, by the end of, because of the way Amazon is, it's going to take probably 2 months after you buy something and sell it till you get that money back, because by the time you prep it, send it in, it sells, Amazon gives you a 2-week waiting period, and then you get your money. You're still over a 2 to 3 month period turning $500 into $1,000, and then you do that again and wait another 2 to 3 months, and so you're turning $1,000 into 2, and then 2 to 4, and then 4 to 8. And if it really is 3 months for every turn, then you turn $500 into $8,000 by the end of the year. And that's if that's all that you have. You put it out there and you wait, and then you don't buy anything else in the meantime. So that's like the scenario that you can expect if you're hitting the higher ROI and higher profit items. The next thing you want to look at is be patient. So don't just freak out and lead to the price tanking. Be patient and know Keepa, so that you buy right. I don't want you to go out there and just buy a bunch of stuff and be like, cool, this is going to make money. If you aren't looking at Keepa and you aren't seeing that the product is actually selling, and there's no indicators from all of the training that we've put in the group, then don't buy that product. Just because it's a 500% ROI, you're going to turn $10 into 50. Well, it's probably not going to sell if Keepa doesn't show that it's selling. So just make sure that you know Keepa so that your cash flow can double and triple, quadruple. Even if it's a little slower, you want to make sure you're buying right if you're starting with less. The other piece with the cash flow is, like I said, because Amazon for new sellers, it takes you a while to buy the inventory you want, and then by the time you buy it, you have to figure out how to prep the inventory, and then you send it to Amazon, and it takes a couple weeks to check in, and then by the time it checks in, you've got to sell it, and then by the time it sells, then it takes a couple weeks to get your money. That's the other downside, is that it can take 2 to 3 months. So just make sure whatever money you're investing into doing this, you're okay if you don't get that back for 3 months. And personally, I like it better if you say, this is my $500, $200, $1,000, whatever investment. And if it's all gone, then, I'm okay risking that money. I know that's difficult to do at first whenever you don't understand the platform, which is why Keepa is so important. So don't ignore that. But if you're okay with that, then you aren't going to freak out when your money takes 3 months to turn. Because by the time you buy it, pack it, send it in, etc. It should take 30 days or less if you're buying right on Keepa for your products to sell. So it's actually a very quick turn rate. It just takes a while for new sellers to get used to the process of finding products and prepping them and sending them in and then waiting, especially because of COVID and there's a lot of delays with the check-in times. I just be patient, be okay with just mentally in your mind, say, this money I'm putting towards Amazon, and I'm okay waiting as long as possible for me to make sure these things are selling. Now, don't misconstrue that to mean like my product's not sold once in 30 days, so I'm just going to wait a year and then get charged a bunch of fees. I mean, be okay with it taking a while for you to get your money back just because of Amazon's system. If a product hasn't sold in 30 days, start to look at the Keepa again, look at the pricing, look at the competition, and say, okay, I might need to lower my price to get this thing moving so I can get the cash flow back, because it's better for you to make, 6 inventory turns where you're selling a product at 30% ROI than to make one in a year at 100% ROI, just because of the way the money works. And if you're in Legends, Travis Hettenbach did a presentation that was great on that specific topic. And it's just math at that point. So don't misconstrue the being patient to just allowing your inventory to sit forever. I just mean be patient in terms of the money that you need back. Be okay investing a little piece or a big piece of your money, whatever that ends up being for you, into this business and waiting for things to start to work. Because if you know Keepa, you go through the trainings, you do everything in that manner, you will find winning products. And I've talked about it before. 80% of the time, you're going to be right. You're going to make money 80% of the time. 10% of the time, you'll probably break even. And the other 10% of the time, you're going to lose money at this. But if you're right 80% of the time, or even if you're right 50% of the time, if people were right 50% of the time in the stock market that they were going to make money, like 50%, everybody would do it. Like everybody would try to figure this thing out. But because it's Amazon, people freak out. So, typically it's 80, 10, 10, but just be patient, no Keepa, and buy things properly. Just be okay holding out for a little bit. The next thing is, I've heard this before. It can be embarrassing, especially for newer sellers, doing retail arbitrage, because you're standing in the store for a few hours. People are walking by, especially with COVID. It's a little bit, it adds an extra layer of, I guess, touchiness to it, right? If you're standing in one place for a long time looking at products, it can be a little bit more difficult, but you can do a couple things. So a bunch of people can't get over this feeling, but what I always did to get over it was I would just put on headphones and I would just get used to ignoring people. And I would turn my headphones up loud enough so if anybody talked to me, I wouldn't hear them. So because I'm not being rude, my headphones are there, so they can clearly see my headphones. And now they probably won't even touch you because it's COVID. So I don't know if they're allowed to touch you or get within 6 feet of you. So don't worry too much about that. Get used to ignoring the crowd. The other thing you can do is go in and take pictures of all the aisles and do the work from home. So you don't have to worry about that as much. Now, the next thing is Amazon loses inventory or owes me money, right? You send in 50 products. They say they got 40 products, and that's a pain. Or something gets damaged and they owe you money and you're trying to figure out where that is, or they lost a box. So in the Proven Amazon course, if you have that, there are resources for filing claims to get these issues resolved. So there's a reimbursements guide in the tools and services section. I think it's older. I'm not sure how applicable it is anymore. I use a service. So that's why I put find a service to help with this, because that's something that can be helpful, to where it can take it off your plate, hours and hours a month off of your plate of trying to figure out where Amazon owes you money and the inventory that's been lost. But there are reports to help you with that. Amazon has streamlined this to be better than they used to be, but it's still not perfect. So make sure that you're looking in those resources. I'm sure there's YouTube videos and websites that'll tell you how to do it as well. But if you have PAC, there is a reimbursements guide if you go to the tools and services section in the Proven Amazon course. Now, I put any other con that you can think of. So if you were to give me any other con, and you can put them in the comments section, and I looked over here because that's where I have Facebook on my other screen. You can put them in the comments section, but typically, have the right mindset is going to be the first thing. You need to have the right mindset, which we talked about at the beginning of this webinar, that Amazon is still the best opportunity. The next thing, no others are hugely successful with this platform, and you can be too. That's proven by the fact that there's over 600 success stories in my silent team. There's over 200 that have come from this Replens group. We're at 198 that I've actually been able to tag, I think, 196 in our group, but I know that there were more for the 6 or 7 months before I started actually tagging these things. So there's hundreds and thousands of success stories, people that don't even come out and say anything about how they've done so well. And, we get private messages, or Jim's team gets private messages. My silent team does. So just know that others are successful with this. You can be too. It takes patience and the right mindset. The next thing is, this is literally, in my opinion, and I probably said this already, the greatest business opportunity ever created in the history of Earth that anyone can do. And I say that specifically for a reason. In my opinion, greatest business opportunity ever. There's no restrictions. There's nothing that holds people back. If you have $0, you can do a garage sale, build up $100, and then start working for that. Or you can find things on Craigslist that are free. You go sell them, fix them up a little bit, sell them on Craigslist, make a few $100, and then go start this Amazon business. And anyone can do it. There's no limitations. There's no restrictions. It's not like hundreds of years ago or whatever, 100 years ago when you needed to know about the railroad or you needed to know about specific, like how to build a car, right? I mean, anybody can do this. And there's tons of examples of that in every major country. The two most recent success stories in the Replens group are from two different countries outside of the United States. So you can literally do this anywhere. Best business opportunity ever. Keep that in mind whenever you're thinking about, you're letting the con ruminate in your head. You're letting it kind of just take over your thought process, when this is the greatest opportunity for anybody to make money ever, in my opinion. And I don't know what would get me to change that at this point, and I hope that there's things that are better that are coming, but right now, this is the best thing out there. So, sorry, I'm on a soapbox. Cons and hurdles to this business grind my gears because it's such a great opportunity. So whenever I've got to do this presentation, I'm talking more than I thought I would and longer, but I hope you guys can see that I'm passionate about this for a reason, because there's no excuses in this. There's so many different people that I know that have had way more issues than I can count, that have made hugely successful businesses out of this. So there's no excuse for cons or hurdles in this right now.